When it came to how the coronavirus affected me throughout the class, I would say that the way that I was learning definitely changed a lot compared to walking every day to class and having a full-on like physical lesson being like shown out and doing examples that we could have done in class together as a group. It was very limited to just like trying to meet up online and just trying to get the work done and not exactly having that much explained.
The whole thing with the coronavirus and this whole pandemic really affects our learning in sort of like a positive and negative way. The positive being that, oh, now we have, no excuse to buckle down and do our work. So it really gives us more of a chance to do what we want to do, which is work hard and do projects and stuff that we don't regularly have in our routine. Where in the negative aspect is that this limits people to do what they need to do because of a limited access to technology and the internet with all this social distancing. So it made life easier for some people and it made life a bit harder for others. So with my personal gain from this is that now I get to kick back and do whatever I need to do for this English course. So
I feel that the coronavirus has affected this class in a lot of ways. I feel like it affected mostly the communication that we had in a very sudden way, because before everything was very physical and we would go walk into class with the teacher and we would interact physically, but now it was more online all of a sudden.
I personally am kind of like a visual learner and kind of a hands-on learner, so having a classroom setting was kind of really crucial to my learning, and now not having one is kind of has been hard to adjust to because I'm so used to being able to have a teacher and being able to have her explain things to me rather than having to communicate through communicating with partners wasn't the easiest thing at first, since last semester personally I dealt with a lot of like personal projects, so I could have done it in my own pace and stuff. However, now that this is all group, I would say that it definitely got easier learning how to manage with different people.
I think something that was hard for me during this English class was the concept around discourse communities and communities of practice. Because in the beginning, I thought that it was just a fancy way of saying, oh, this is a fan base, and these are just people that have a common goal and interest, and they just talk about it for hours and hours on end. But then the more we got into it, the more I realized that there's more depth and complexity with running a discourse community and having a discourse community. Like, even if you don't consider yourselves a discourse community, there's a multitude of communities out there that are classified in discourse communities. So now I don't see them as fan bases anymore, which now I see them as discourse communities. So now it's easier for me to identify these sort of communities of practice, whether it be communities of discourse or practice. So that's something that was fairly good.
I think that was hard for me at the beginning of the year would be to adjust to a group when doing a project. So I had never really done a group project, so this was a very new experience that I was being exposed to. And I had a very good time finding myself and how I work better with other people.
So something difficult for me at the beginning of our semester was when we kind of had those in-class group projects slash activities where, we had a certain amount of time to do something or like write a paper of the sort with our group. I struggled a lot with those, I think mainly because of the time restriction, but I mean, we don't have class now, so we don't have those. So I guess that's something I don't struggle with. The challenging part, I say, would have to be the essay. I mean, essays aren't really my forte to begin with, so
I would say that having a group where people had kind of different ideas was kind of hard to manage with, since one of us would be like having this idea and then the other would have the idea, and we didn't really want to tell each other like no, so we would try and incorporate both ideas, but it made it kind of hard, especially communication wise.
I think something that was challenging for me during this English course was communication, because my inverted person I'm not very good at communicating with others. So the project 1 and 2 was kind of a new thing to me because I'm not used to working in groups, specifically in groups that you're assigned to for the duration of the course. So it was kind of weird to, get told what to do in this certain aspect. Even though we all have our own choices, but it's not what I would technically want, but to agree to disagree in some cases. So that's something that was challenging for me during this course, which was communication. So and I further to, help myself and to improve my communication skills as I
Challenging part of this year, what happened? Learning to find how I can improve to better work on the projects with my other colleagues. I think that I found many ways that I could improve on, and especially on the way that I wrote and the ideas that I came up with. I got to see other people's perspective and how it affected my research and how we collaborate together.
I think the most challenging part of this year has been, of course, this pandemic. It's very different going from being out every day and doing things with friends and hanging out with family members to having to be in quarantine with, your closer family and the people you live with, and just not being able to see anyone and have physical contact with anyone and any of that kind of stuff. So I think that aspect has been pretty difficult, and of course school itself.
Best improvement, I would say, is learning how to cooperate with others. As repetitive as I sound, this is a lot of group stuff, so having to work with different people is definitely way different than working by yourself, because by yourself you get to just add what you want, what you think is good, but now you have to try and convince other people, or you have to explain to other people what your ideas are. So I would say that I definitely made better improvements by learning how to talk with more people.
think in an area that I improved in would have to be my not problem solving but answering skills, because Professor Ortiz gave us a choice of, just going with the flow, and that going with the flow really helped me with certain things, because I was utter garbage at making at answering questions like on the fly. So with things that she gave us, which were synths and the reading responses that she gave us, and she gave us that option of just spilling out our opinion and just giving a good grade on it, really, helped me with, oh, this is much easier than I thought, than just thinking about it and overcompensating on a simple question. So I definitely agree that my answering skills really improved with the duration of this.
The area that I felt I did the most accomplishments was when I was researching things. I think I improved a lot in that aspect. It was at first very hard for me to find research correlating with art, but then I found how to use my databases that were available for me because of the university, and how to efficiently use it.
One area of the class where I improved in is working as a group with like other people. So for this going on, you have to have active communication with your group members, and you have to, clearly like state what you guys want to do, what your plan is. And I feel like that's like I've kind of improved somewhat in that aspect, because I'm trying to communicate more with them and trying to figure out what we need to do for our projects and such.